Good day, family. This is video number 5 in our series, The Tongue. In the first 4 videos, we laid a foundation. We talked about the power of words. We talked about what our speech reveals about the heart and how our words points to life or death, and why silence itself can be an act of spiritual strength. Now let's move into another section of the tongue where we deal with from foundation now to formation. Because scripture makes this clear, a growing faith does not form itself accidentally. It's not how this happens. And neither does disciplined speech. The Bible gives us a biblical framework for disciplined speech. When you and I hear the word discipline, many of us think about restriction. But in Scripture, discipline is not punishment, it's training. Paul uses that language there in 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 27, where he says how I discipline my body and bring it under subjection. Paul understood that spiritual maturity requires intentional effort. That same principle applies to your mouth and to mine. If our faith is disciplined, our speech must be disciplined as well. Jesus helps us with this understanding because he reminds us there in Matthew chapter 15 and the verses 18 that the things which proceed out of the mouth comes from the heart, and those things defile a person. That statement tells us that speech isn't merely about expression. It's also about formation. What we allow to come out of our mouths reinforces what we allow to remain in our hearts. Therefore, you and I should understand the significance of disciplined speech. Without discipline, our words default to impulse. We speak too clearly. We react instead of reflect. We vent instead of discern. And Scripture never presents spiritual growth as passive. Discipline is the means God uses to shape our habits, including our speaking habits. Let's see if Solomon helps us with restrained speech. Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 19 puts it plainly. In the multitude of words there wanted not sin, but he that refraineth his lips is wise. That's not saying silence is always better, but it is saying restraint is wise. Discipline teaches us when to speak, how much to speak, and when to hold back. And we find evidence of this in James as he speaks about maturity. Because James goes even further in chapter 1 and verse 26. He says that if anyone considers himself or herself religious, yet does not bridle his tongue, his religion is vain. Now that, my friend, is a sobering statement. James isn't questioning sincerity. He's addressing maturity. An undisciplined mouth undermines an otherwise disciplined life. Here's a core truth for you and for me. Here's what Scripture keeps bringing us back to. A disciplined faith cannot exist along an undisciplined mouth. They don't go together. One will eventually expose the other. Can I give you 3 marks of disciplined speech? Just 3. Because I think there are 3 things, if not more, that Scripture associates with disciplined speech. Number 1, intentionality. Words are chosen, not just impulsively comes out. No, they're chosen. Intentionality. Proverbs chapter 15 and verse 28 tells us that the heart of the righteous studies how to answer. Number 2, restraint. Not every thought needs a voice. Sometimes it's okay to think it sometimes and keep it within. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and verse 2 warns us not to be rash with our mouths. And number 3, consistency. Disciplined speech is not occasional, it's habitual. Colossians, the chapters 4 and verses 6. And there we are told to let our speech always be with grace. Always means consistently. By way of transformation, discipline doesn't develop overnight. It's formed through repeated obedience, reflection, and submission to God. And that includes learning to pause before we speak. Consider with me application. Let me leave you with just a few questions to ponder upon. Number 1, do my words sound disciplined or reactive? Number 2, am I intentional about my speech, or do I rely on apologies after the fact? Number 3, am I allowing God to train my mouth the same way He trains my heart? I think those questions help move us from awareness to growth. In the coming video, the next one, we'll talk about what comes out of our mouths when life applies pressure and why pressure doesn't create character. But once again, it reveals it. Because formation is not proven in comfort, it's revealed under strain. And this is what it means to be formed to fight. Thank you so much for spending time with me.